Where do you distract yourself from feeling? What are you avoiding? Maybe it's scrolling, snacking, overworking, all to avoid facing something in your life. You tell yourself you'll stop tomorrow, but somehow the pattern keeps repeating. We all have coping mechanisms to numb from something we don't want to face. Problem is that this numbing keeps us from actually living our full potential, from learning to love ourselves fully, live a life of deeper purpose, and often results in undesired physical symptoms because we simply are placing a band-aid over a deeper stress in the body that is just simmering. In this video, we're going to explore why coping mechanisms exist and how they can keep you stuck, and most importantly, how to start healing from what's underneath. I'm Daniel, I'm a holistic life and health coach, and I help people heal from the inside out, emotionally, biologically, and psychologically, so they can finally rest and feel grounded and be living a life they love. So let's dive in. When most people talk about coping mechanisms, they focus on the behavior itself. I need to stop eating junk food. I have to quit overthinking. I should stop scrolling so late at night. But the behavior is really never the real problem. It's the solution your body has found for a deeper unmet need. A coping mechanism is simply a protective pattern your nervous system learned to help you avoid pain or manage stress. It's what your body did when you didn't have the safety, the tools, the awareness to process something fully. And overthinking can be a way to try to feel in control, right? Overthinking can help you avoid feeling unworthy. Numbing out with food or screens might be your body's way of soothing loneliness. At one point, those patterns worked, and they kept you functioning when you didn't have other options. So they deserve compassion and not shame. But what helped you survive might now be exactly what's preventing you from truly living, laughing, loving, and even finding rest. The first step towards change is awareness, right? So people numb in many different ways, some subtle, others very obvious. So recognizing your personal patterns is key here. Some common ways people numb though: distraction through screens, endless scrolling, binge watching, gaming to drown out discomfort. Another one, busyness, overworking, staying constantly productive to avoid being present with our emotions. Food or alcohol, using substances to overeat, to soothe or suppress feelings. Sometimes there's withdrawing or isolation, which pulling away from that connection and avoiding situations that might trigger vulnerability. You'll also see emotional overregulation, keeping calm on the outside while disconnecting internally. Then there's pretending everything's fine, right? Minimalizing or intellectualizing emotions instead of allowing your body to process them. Bringing compassionate curiosity to these habits rather than judgment begins to transform them. And the goal is to not eliminate numbing, but to notice when it's happening and gently reconnect with what's underneath. And this awareness creates that space. And space allows choice, and choice builds us a whole new life. Every coping mechanism has a feeling underneath. Learning to notice how and when you numb creates the doorway to feeling safe again. So start by asking yourself, what situation or emotions make me want to escape or check out? Where do I feel it in my body before I turn to those behaviors? And what am I actually afraid might happen if I actually allowed myself to feel it right now? When we meet that feeling with understanding instead of judgment, healing begins. So as we build awareness around our coping action, we then build awareness on the emotions we are avoiding. So the next time you catch yourself in a coping behavior, instead of asking, why am I doing this? Try asking, what feeling am I trying to avoid right now? That question can open the door. Then ask yourself, what do I actually need in this moment? Maybe it's rest, maybe it's connection, maybe it's just permission to feel sad without fixing. You can't heal what you shame or what you keep hidden in the dark, but we can transform what we understand. And that's why we're starting with this awareness. Now let's talk about how to start changing these patterns gently, because you don't want to stop coping by force. You want to evolve beyond the need to. So here's a few ways to begin. Grounding in the present. When you feel the urge to distract or numb, take a moment to pause. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice 3 things you can see, 2 things you can touch, 1 thing you can hear. And that simple action can help you bring yourself back to the here and now. Next, breathe before reacting. Before you reach for the phone, the food, the work, take 1 slow breath. And that tiny pause creates space to check in and feel and look for the possibility of a new choice. Next, begin to express what's inside. Write, move, cry, breathe, make sound. Energy that isn't expressed becomes anxiety, restlessness, or tension. And lastly, I say connect. Healing happens in safe connection. Share what you're feeling with someone who can hold that space, a friend, a coach, a community. Your body learns safety through being seen and supported. And remember, you don't have to do this perfectly. You just have to be willing to meet yourself honestly. So let's connect all this back to our health and rest, because we think we can suppress emotions all day long and it doesn't have an effect, but it's simply simmering underneath the surface. Many people think they can power through their emotions, but instead they just build up inside and affect us in other ways over time. And that can often look like health issues, especially around sleep. Because when everything gets quiet at night, those unprocessed feelings rise to the surface. That's why so many people feel wired and tired. The nervous system is still on guard, right? Trying to manage what's never gotten released. True rest requires that safety, not just the darkness and silence, but emotional calm. And your body can't rest if it doesn't feel safe to feel. So when you start working on your coping mechanisms, you're not just improving your mindset, you're teaching your body that it's finally okay to relax. That's when we start to heal, that's when we can find rest, that's when we find our health. So next time you notice yourself slipping into an old pattern, pause, take a breath, and remind yourself this was my body's way of keeping myself safe. But now I'm learning a new way. Coping mechanisms aren't inherently bad, but they tend to take us away from the message of the body saying, I need care. When you start responding with that compassion instead of control or avoidance, you teach your body that safety no longer requires protection, and it can come from presence. And that's when everything starts to change. Your mind, your sleep, and your life.